Prepare your heart, dear friends, because as you pray this prayer with faith, you will witness an immediate and unbelievable miracle of 2025 unfold in your life. Trust in the power of God's grace and the intercession of St. Padre Pio, for this could be the moment that changes everything. For those who find themselves entangled in financial difficulties, overwhelmed by debts and obligations, take heart. Through prayer and the intercession of St. Padre Pio, you will witness doors opening to financial prosperity. The burdens of unpaid loans will be lifted and resources will flow abundantly, enabling you to provide for your loved ones and live with renewed security and peace. If you have lent to others without return, trust that justice will prevail and what was taken will be restored to you. Even if your income has been unstable, fear not. A miracle awaits to steady the foundation of your livelihood. For those battling addictions that have weighed heavily upon their bodies and souls, believe in the transformative power of divine grace. Even if the past year has seen repeated failures in breaking free from these chains, this year holds the promise of redemption. By the intercession of St. Padre Pio, you will find strength to overcome temptation, reclaiming health, peace, and a renewed connection with God. To those who have faced the crushing weight of a medical diagnosis deemed incurable, let your faith in divine healing sustain you. Through fervent prayer, trust that the miraculous hand of God will touch your life, restoring vitality where there once was pain and hope where there was despair. No ailment is beyond the reach of God's mercy. For couples who have yearned for the joy of parenthood without success, now is the time to embrace hope. Through the prayers of St. Padre Pio, the blessing of children will grace your family, filling your home with laughter and love. Likewise, those mourning the loss of a loved one will find solace through prayer. The grief that now weighs heavily will be transformed into peace, and the cherished memories of those departed will bring comfort rather than pain. For those seeking employment, discouraged by endless searches, trust that divine intervention will guide you to meaningful and fulfilling work early this year. A position that meets both your needs and those of your family will reveal itself, offering not only stability, but also an opportunity to serve others. If you have faced setbacks or challenges not mentioned here, know that God is fully aware of your needs. The intercession of St. Padre Pio is a powerful channel through which miracles unfold, addressing even the unspoken prayers of the heart. Let faith be your anchor as you embark on this journey of renewal and transformation. This year, 2025, is not merely the turning of a calendar, but the opening of a sacred chapter filled with divine promise. Join in prayer, lifting your intentions to heaven with the confidence that your life is poised for miraculous change. Through the guidance and intercession of St. Padre Pio, let this year be marked by healing, abundance, reconciliation, and joy. Trust in God's timing, for His plans are perfect and His love unfailing. These chains have bound me, and I have struggled in vain to break free from them. Yet I know that true freedom lies not in my strength, but in the grace of God. Padre Pio would remind me to turn my heart fully to God, trusting in His divine mercy to restore my soul and give me the strength to overcome temptation. Through His intercession, I seek peace in my heart, a life of purity, and the joy that comes from living according to God's will. St. Padre Pio, I face immense health challenges that weigh heavily on me. Doctors have spoken of incurable conditions, but you have always reminded the faithful that with God all things are possible. I turn to you, Padre Pio, knowing your compassionate heart and unwavering faith. I ask for your prayers that God may grant me miraculous healing. May my body be restored to health, and may I be given the vitality to live a full life dedicated to His service. I trust that your intercession will bring me closer to the divine healing I seek. Grief and loss have pierced my heart, leaving a void I cannot fill. Padre Pio, in your wisdom, you would counsel me to find comfort in the love of Christ and the hope of eternal life. I ask for your intercession, that my sorrow may turn to joy through God's grace. May I feel the presence of my loved one in spirit, and may my heart find healing and peace as I move forward, surrounded by the love of God. Padre Pio, I bring before you the deep longing of my heart to experience the joy of parenthood. My spouse and I have prayed for years, but the gift of children has eluded us. I trust in your powerful prayers that through God's will we may be blessed with a family. Open our hearts to His divine plan and grant us the faith to await His timing. With your intercession, I believe that in this year, God may work a miracle and fulfill our deepest desires. Saint Padre Pio, I am burdened with uncertainty as I search for meaningful work to provide for my family. My heart is weary from the struggle, but I find solace in your example of trust in God's providence. Please intercede for me, that I may find stable employment that not only meets my needs, but also allows me to serve others and grow in faith. May God guide me to opportunities that align with His purpose, filling my life with meaning and fulfillment. Padre Pio, the worries and uncertainties of life weigh me down, robbing me of peace. I lay these burdens at your feet, trusting in your prayers to lead me to the peace that only God can give. Teach me to surrender my anxieties to Him, to rest in His promises, and to find joy in His unfailing love. Through your intercession, I believe this year can be filled with contentment, hope, and grace. Loneliness and isolation have left me longing for connection and understanding. Padre Pio, you are a source of comfort to those who felt abandoned. I ask for your intercession that God may bring the right people into my life, companions who will walk with me in faith, offer encouragement, and help me to grow in love. May I learn to trust in His timing and find companionship that reflects His love and grace. Anger and unforgiveness have taken root in my heart, and I struggle to let go of the wounds of the past. Padre Pio, your life was a testament to forgiveness and the healing power of God's love. I ask for your prayers to release the bitterness and pain that hold me captive. Grant me the grace to forgive those who have wronged me and to heal the scars within my soul. Through your intercession, I trust I will find the peace that comes from a heart free of resentment. Padre Pio, fear and anxiety about the future grip me, clouding my faith in God's plan. In your wisdom, you would remind me to trust in the providence of God, who never abandons His children. Please intercede for me, that I may find strength in His promises and courage to face the unknown with hope. May I experience the peace that surpasses all understanding, secure in the knowledge that God holds my future in His hands. For my family and loved ones, Padre Pio, I ask for your intercession. Many of them face struggles of their own, health challenges, broken relationships, or battles within their hearts. Please pray for their healing and restoration, that they may find peace and strength in God. For those who are far from Him, may your intercession help them return to His loving embrace and experience the joy of His forgiveness. May our family be united in unwavering faith, and may we support one another with compassion and love as we journey through this new year. Padre Pio often emphasized that unity and faith is the foundation for facing life's challenges. I entrust to you, Padre Pio, my spiritual journey, for there are moments when I feel distant from God, when my faith falters and my prayers feel hollow. Intercede for me and for the healing of this world, so that peace may reign in every heart and nation. Through the love of Christ, may we all be inspired to build a world filled with justice, kindness, and understanding. Padre Pio reminds us that God's mercy is infinite, capable of healing the deepest wounds of the past, bringing reconciliation and peace to every corner of the earth. Saint Padre Pio, I lift up those struggling with addiction, whether it is to substances, harmful habits, or destructive behaviors. Your example of enduring trials teaches us the power of God's grace. Pray for these souls to experience the freedom that only God's love can provide. Let the chains that bind them be broken, and may they find strength to overcome their struggles. Through divine grace, may they find healing, restoration, and the support needed to walk in the light of recovery. The plight of those suffering financial distress, whether facing unemployment, insurmountable debt, or uncertainty about how to provide for their families, intercede for them. Remind them, as you often did, of God's providence and His presence in moments of despair. May opportunities and resources flow into their lives, bringing stability and prosperity. Grant them the faith to trust in God's provision and the breakthrough they seek, knowing that every trial is an opportunity to draw closer to Him. Padre Pio, you understood the depths of emotional pain, and so I bring before you those battling depression, anxiety, and despair. Through your intercession, may they feel God's loving embrace, lifting them from sorrow and restoring joy to their hearts. Let them be reminded of the peace that comes from knowing God is near, and that He has a plan for their healing and happiness. Padre Pio, guide them to the light that dispels all darkness and fills their spirits with hope. For those grieving the loss of loved ones, Padre Pio, I ask for your compassionate intercession. The pain of losing someone dear is a heavy burden, whether recent or long-standing. May your prayers bring them comfort and remind them of the eternal life promised by Christ. Inspire them to find solace in the love they shared with those who have passed, and may their grief turn to peace as they look forward to the hope of reunion in God's kingdom. Saint Padre Pio, I pray for all those burdened by feelings of worthlessness and self-doubt. You taught us to see ourselves as God sees us, beloved and full of potential. Intercede for those trapped in negative thoughts, that they may be freed from self-imposed limitations and find confidence in their divine purpose. May they walk boldly into the new year, knowing they are cherished and capable through the strength of Christ. I also bring to you, Padre Pio, the struggles within broken relationships. For marriages on the brink, friendships torn apart, and families divided, intercede for healing and reconciliation. Help all involved to embrace forgiveness, communicate with kindness, and rebuild bonds of love. Through your prayers, may God restore what has been lost and teach us all the power of unity and understanding. In all my concerns, I place my hopes, desires, and fears into your hands. You often reminded us of the importance of trust in God's divine timing. Help me to remember that His plan is perfect, even when challenges seem insurmountable. I trust in your intercession and find comfort knowing I am never alone. Finally, I seek your prayers for my mental well-being. When the weight of stress and worry clouds my mind, guide me to trust in God's strength and guidance. Through your intercession, may I experience clarity, calmness, and the peace of mind I so deeply long for. Help me to embrace each moment with trust in God's providence and the resilience to overcome every trial. Through your prayers, may I walk with renewed strength, assured of God's love and purpose for my life. Padre Pio speaks to the soul burdened by guilt and regret, saying, "The weight of past mistakes can feel unbearable, but know that God's mercy is infinite. Lift your heart to Him and trust in His forgiveness. Release your shame and remorse into his loving hands, for in his embrace there is redemption. Let the peace of knowing you are redeemed by his love fill your spirit. My child, persevere in this trust, for God does not withhold his healing from those who seek him. For those paralyzed by anxiety and fear of the future, Padre Pio offers this reassurance. The path ahead may seem uncertain, but remember that God's plan is perfect. Surrender your worries to him, and he will lead you with love and care. Trust in his timing, for his providence is never late. Allow the peace of his control to calm your heart, and step forward with faith, knowing that his guidance is unerring. To those facing hostility and conflict, Padre Pio advises, in moments of strife, be a vessel of peace. Do not let anger cloud your spirit, but seek to reflect God's wisdom and love in every interaction. Pray for the grace to navigate challenges with calm and understanding. Let your life be a light that shines amidst the darkness, drawing others toward the harmony God desires for all. For the wounded hearts carrying emotional trauma, Padre Pio speaks with compassion. The scars of the past may run deep, but God's healing is deeper still. Open your heart to his touch and allow him to mend what has been broken. Forgiveness is not weakness, but strength, and through it you can release the burden of pain. Trust that God's plan for you includes renewal, hope, and the courage to move forward into a brighter future. To the weary and exhausted, Padre Pio consoles. When your strength fails, remember that God's power is made perfect in your weakness. Come into his presence and find rest for your soul. Let him replenish your spirit, body, and mind with the vitality you need. Each day is a gift, and he walks beside you, sustaining you through every trial. For those consumed by anger, Padre Pio encourages, anger chains the soul, preventing it from embracing peace. Release this burden through compassion and understanding. Look at others with the eyes of God, seeing their struggles as he does. Forgive, not for their sake alone, but for your own healing. Let love and mercy flow from your heart and be a living testimony to God's transformative grace. To those longing for the gift of life, Padre Pio offers this prayer. The ache for a child is a sacred longing, one that God hears and holds tenderly. Trust in his timing and his plan for your family, even when the path seems unclear. Pray for the miracle of life and let hope anchor your soul. God's blessings unfold in ways beyond our understanding, and his will for you is good. For the anxious decision-maker, Padre Pio advises, in moments of uncertainty, seek God's wisdom above all. Bring your fears and choices before him and trust that he will illuminate the path. Pray for clarity and courage, knowing that his guidance is sure. Allow his peace to guard your heart as he leads you toward decisions that align with his perfect will. To those struggling to move forward after loss or change, Padre Pio offers hope. Transitions can feel like endings, but in God they are beginnings. Let go of the past, trusting that he is preparing something new and beautiful for you. Embrace the next chapter with courage, knowing that he walks with you. In his promises there is comfort, and in his plan there is always a way forward. Finally, to those whose faith feels cold or distant, Padre Pio speaks with gentle encouragement. Faith may waver, but God is constant. When you feel far from him, know that he remains close, waiting to rekindle the fire of your love for him. Pray, even when it feels difficult, for your prayers do reach his heart. Seek his presence daily, and let his love renew and strengthen your faith, for he is always with you. O Lord, grant me persistence in prayer and the grace to seek your divine presence in all aspects of life. Let my relationship with you become a source of joy and purpose, a beacon in the journey of faith. Padre Pio often reminded us that trust in God's providence transforms even the darkest uncertainties into paths illuminated by his wisdom. Saint Padre Pio, I bring before you those who feel adrift, uncertain of their purpose. I too feel lost, searching for clarity in the journey God has laid before me. Help me to trust in his divine plan, to take each step forward in faith, even when the road is obscured by doubt. Let me find hope and courage in knowing that he walks with me, ever guiding, ever present. Padre Pio's words echo: pray, hope, and don't worry. I ask you, Saint Padre Pio, to intercede for those burdened by feelings of inadequacy in their efforts, whether in work or study. I too struggle with the weight of self-doubt, feeling as though my abilities fall short of what is required. Intercede for me, Padre Pio, that I may recognize the gifts God has placed within me and find the strength to persevere. Help me to align my efforts with his will, trusting that success lies not in the eyes of the world, but in fulfilling the purpose he has for me. May my confidence be rooted in his eternal love, and may I find joy in using my talents to serve him. Saint Padre Pio, you taught us the value of surrendering our burdens to God. I lift up those who feel crushed by the weight of responsibilities, overwhelmed by the demands of life. There are days when I too feel as if there is no end to the tasks before me. Help me to find balance, to understand when to rest and when to seek help. Teach me, Padre Pio, to let go of the burdens I am not meant to carry and to rest in God's peace. In him I find solace, knowing that I am not alone in facing life's trials. His strength sustains me, and his grace lightens my load. You, Saint Padre Pio, knew the pain of strained relationships and taught us to seek God's healing in such moments. I come before you for those facing discord within their families, for the misunderstandings and conflicts that seem insurmountable. I too struggle to find harmony where hurt lingers. Intercede for us, Padre Pio, that our hearts may be softened and our words guided by love and patience. Help us to grow in understanding, and let our relationships reflect God's boundless love. May we find healing in his mercy and unity in his presence. Padre Pio often spoke of forgiveness as a path to freedom. I ask for your intercession for those suffering the pain of broken trust. I carry wounds from betrayals, and my heart aches for peace. Help me to open myself to God's grace, to find the strength to forgive and rebuild. Teach me, Padre Pio, to approach others with compassion and understanding, allowing God's love to heal the fractures in my relationships. May his mercy guide me beyond the hurt, toward the restoration and peace I long for. I pray for those struggling with feelings of rejection, for those who feel unloved or unworthy. I too carry the weight of such pain, and I long to feel God's acceptance. Intercede for me, Padre Pio, that I may know the depth of his love for me, a love that never falters. Help me to see my worth in his eyes and to let go of the wounds caused by rejection. May I be filled with his presence, assured that I am never alone and always cherished. You taught us, Padre Pio, to place our fears in God's hands. I lift up those trapped by anxieties, fear of failure, judgment, or the unknown. I too find myself paralyzed by these fears, unable to step forward with confidence. Intercede for me, Saint Padre Pio, that I may overcome these chains and embrace the future with boldness. Help me to trust in God's promises, to take each step in faith, knowing that his light will guide me to what is good. Let courage replace fear, and may I walk in the freedom of his truth. I share their uncertainty, longing for clarity in my choices. Intercede for me, Padre Pio, that God may grant me the wisdom and patience to discern His will. Help me to embrace the waiting as part of His plan, trusting that His guidance will lead me to fulfillment. May I walk the path of peace and joy, confident in His divine purpose for my life. I bring to you those who feel the absence of joy and hope in their lives. There are times when life feels empty, and I, too, yearn for the happiness I once knew. Intercede for me, Padre Pio, that I may rediscover the beauty in life's simple blessings. Help me to see God's hand at work in all things, even the smallest moments. May His presence fill me with hope, and may I trust that brighter days are ahead, as He renews my spirit and fills my heart with peace. Saint Padre Pio, your example of perseverance, trust, and faith reminds us to turn to God in all things. I ask for your prayers for those bound by unhealthy habits and addictions. I feel trapped by these struggles and long for freedom. Intercede for me, that God may strengthen me to break these chains and replace them with life-giving habits. Help me to walk in His grace, knowing that true freedom comes from living in accordance with His will. May I find peace and renewal in His presence, ever trusting in His unfailing love. Saint Padre Pio, in all things we must trust in the providence of God, for His love and faithfulness never waver, even when life's challenges seem insurmountable. Gratitude must anchor our hearts, for it is through thanksgiving that we align ourselves with the divine will. Padre Pio reminds us that to remain grateful, even in trials, is a testimony to faith that transcends circumstance. We must seek God's hand in every aspect of our lives, trusting that He who provides for the sparrows will surely provide for all our needs. When the soul feels distant from God, Padre Pio encourages us to turn to prayer as the bridge to rekindle intimacy with the divine. He teaches that faith, even when fragile, can be strengthened through persistence in seeking God's presence. In seasons of spiritual weakness, we must allow the year to be one of renewal, drawing closer to His will and experiencing His love more fully. Padre Pio's intercession is a beacon, guiding us toward the deepening of our spiritual lives. He teaches that true peace is not found in the absence of turmoil, but in the presence of God, who guards our hearts and minds. His intercession inspires us to become vessels of peace, reflecting the light of God to others who wander in search of solace. Through trust and surrender, we find stability, even in life's fiercest storms. Patience, Padre Pio emphasizes, is a virtue of immense value, particularly in the waiting seasons of life. He counsels that God's timing is perfect, even when it feels delayed. Behind the unseen veil, the divine is orchestrating outcomes that will bring ultimate good. For those burdened by negative self-perception, Padre Pio's view is rooted in the truth of our identity in Christ. He urges us to see ourselves through the eyes of God, who has created us in love and beauty. Rejecting the lies of unworthiness, we are called to walk confidently as beloved children of God, letting go of the chains of self-doubt. Padre Pio intercedes, helping us to embrace our value and live with the dignity bestowed upon us by our Creator. Trust, once broken, is difficult to rebuild, yet Padre Pio reminds us that healing is possible through God's grace. He advises that past wounds, though deep, can be transformed into wisdom and strength. His intercession brings courage to trust again, to approach relationships with an open heart, and to rely on God's plan for our connections with others. In Him, there is always hope for renewal and reconciliation. Padre Pio addresses those grappling with career uncertainty by reminding us of the importance of seeking God's guidance in professional endeavors. He calls us to trust in our God-given talents and remain faithful, even when the path ahead seems unclear. His intercession inspires courage to make bold decisions and to step into opportunities that align with God's purpose for our lives, ensuring that we become lights of integrity and diligence in the workplace. In times of grief, Padre Pio teaches us to find solace in the eternal hope of God's promise. He encourages us to carry the memory of loved ones with love, transforming pain into a celebration of the life they lived. His intercession brings comfort, helping us to trust that healing will come and that God's presence will accompany us through every stage of our mourning. Loneliness, though heavy, is a cross that Padre Pio understands well. He reminds us that we are never truly alone, for God's presence is a constant source of love and companionship. His intercession brings assurance that God will place people in our lives to uplift and support us, filling the void with relationships marked by kindness and mutual encouragement. In the quiet of solitude, we are called to draw near to God, where emptiness is replaced with divine fullness. For those overwhelmed by the weight of life's responsibilities, Padre Pio's words are a balm, reminding us that we do not carry these burdens alone. He urges us to turn to God, whose grace is sufficient for every trial. His intercession provides strength to persevere and the assurance that relief is always within reach through the loving arms of the Father. By trusting in God, we find renewed energy to face life's demands with resilience and faith. Finally, for those who struggle with self-control, Padre Pio offers a compassionate reminder of God's desire for our freedom from destructive habits. Through prayer and reliance on grace, he urges us to overcome temptations, finding victory in the strength that comes from above. His intercession inspires a commitment to live in harmony with God's will, embracing discipline as a path to true spiritual liberation. Whether it is in the realm of self-discipline, Padre Pio reminds us that the struggle against our weaknesses is a shared human experience. He would counsel us to trust in Christ, who provides the strength to overcome. Through grace, we are guided toward balance and moderation, even in areas where we feel most vulnerable. Padre Pio would encourage us to persist in prayer, knowing that discipline is not just about willpower, but about surrendering our limitations to God's infinite mercy and guidance. St. Padre Pio often spoke of faith as a gift that needs nurturing. He would urge us to come to God with a heart full of gratitude, even when our faith wavers. He would encourage us to pray for renewal, trusting that a deeper connection with God is possible through humility and surrender to His will. In his perspective, faith grows in the soil of trust, prayer, and an openness to the Holy Spirit's guidance. He would gently remind us that faith is not just strength, but a source of peace and perseverance in our daily lives. For those trapped in the cycles of addiction, Padre Pio would emphasize God's power to break all chains and restore wholeness. He would pray for strength and courage for those battling these struggles, urging them to seek divine and human support. He believed in the transformative power of God's light and truth, assuring us that liberation from addiction is possible when we surrender fully to God's love and grace. Padre Pio would remind us that every step taken toward freedom is an act of faith and hope. Regarding broken relationships, Padre Pio would call us to forgiveness, compassion, and the willingness to heal. He would remind us that reconciliation begins with humility and a heart open to God's love. He would encourage us to pray for understanding and peace, trusting that God's grace can restore what has been broken. Padre Pio saw the hand of God in every act of forgiveness and believed that healing relationships reflect the unity and harmony of divine love. For those weary in body and spirit, Padre Pio would offer reassurance of God's promise to provide rest and renewal. He would remind us that caring for ourselves is not selfish, but a recognition of the divine gift of life. Padre Pio would urge us to seek solace in prayer and God's presence, trusting that He will refresh our energy and fill us with hope to carry on with joy. He would encourage moments of quiet reflection, drawing strength from the knowledge that God walks with us in every trial. When faced with fear of the unknown, Padre Pio would encourage trust in God's perfect plan. He would counsel us to surrender our anxieties and place our confidence in the providence of a loving God. Padre Pio believed that fear is dispelled by faith and that courage comes from the assurance of God's eternal care. He would remind us that each step forward is guided by a hand that never falters, even when the path ahead is unclear. In the context of family harmony, Padre Pio would pray for peace to reign within homes. He believed that love, patience, and mutual understanding are reflections of God's presence among us. Padre Pio would encourage us to see the good in one another and to create an environment where God's love binds families together in unity. He would remind us that peace in the home is both a refuge and a blessing, cultivated through daily acts of kindness and forgiveness. For those carrying the burden of unforgiveness, Padre Pio would gently guide them toward release and healing. He would remind us that forgiveness is not just an act of the will, but a grace that transforms hearts. Padre Pio would counsel us to surrender bitterness to God, allowing His mercy to heal the wounds of the past. He would encourage us to become instruments of peace, reflecting God's mercy to those who have wronged us. Finally, in times of financial struggle, Padre Pio would urge us to place our trust in God's provision. He would remind us that while prudence and effort are necessary, ultimate security comes from God's promise to meet our needs. Padre Pio would encourage us to pray for wisdom in managing resources and to trust in opportunities provided by God's grace. He believed that financial peace is rooted not in abundance, but in the assurance of God's constant care and provision. Saint Padre Pio, I reflect on those who feel adrift in their spiritual lives, yearning for closeness with God, yet uncertain about the path forward. As you often reminded us, true clarity comes through surrender to divine will. I pray that they may discern God's purpose with the faith and trust you exemplified, and that their relationship with Him deepens through grace and understanding. Your words, Padre Pio, resonate here. Pray, hope, and don't worry. Worry is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. For those burdened by mental and emotional struggles, Saint Padre Pio. I recall how you bore physical and spiritual trials with unwavering trust in God. Intercede for those overwhelmed by anxiety and despair, helping them find peace and clarity. May they feel God's healing touch, renewing their hope and courage to face life's challenges, knowing that, as you taught, God's love is the source of all comfort and strength. To those who feel the ache of broken dreams and unmet expectations, Padre Pio, your unwavering belief in God's perfect timing offers solace. You understood that human plans often pale in comparison to divine providence. Intercede for those who feel disheartened, that they may find the strength to persevere and the wisdom to trust in God's greater plan, knowing that He works all things for good, even in moments of disappointment. Saint Padre Pio, I lift up those battling procrastination and lack of motivation, paralyzed by fear, or trapped in cycles of inaction. Your example teaches us the importance of perseverance and diligence in fulfilling God's purpose. Intercede for them, that they may find the courage to take the first step, overcoming barriers with faith and determination. May they experience the joy of accomplishment, drawing closer to their God-given potential. For those enduring struggles in marriage and relationships, Padre Pio, Your deep compassion for human frailty inspires hope. Intercede for those seeking to mend broken bonds, that they may approach one another with forgiveness and patience. Guide them to reflect God's love through kindness and mutual respect, restoring harmony and a deeper connection as you so often counseled in your ministry. I bring before you families facing discord or strained relationships, Saint Padre Pio. Your prayers for family unity remind us of the divine strength available in times of difficulty. Intercede for those seeking reconciliation, granting them wisdom and grace to heal misunderstandings. May their homes be filled with compassion, understanding, and the light of God's love, creating peace where strife once reigned. Padre Pio, for those who feel distant from God in their spiritual journey, I ask for your intercession. Help them rediscover the warmth of His presence and reignite their faith. As you reminded the faithful, prayer is the bridge to God's heart. May they seek Him earnestly, finding renewal in their spirit and joy in His eternal love. To those striving for personal growth and learning, I pray for your guidance, Saint Padre Pio. Your devotion to humility and perseverance offers a powerful example. Intercede for those overwhelmed by challenges, granting them the discipline and confidence needed to develop their gifts. May they use their talents wisely, fulfilling God's purpose in their lives. Lastly, Padre Pio, I think of those weighed down by regret and shame over past mistakes.